What's up, y'all? This is Skratch Bastid, and welcome to Skratch School. Today we're going to talk about how to properly set your mixer up for scratching. Now, scratching is something that evolved out of not the natural use of mixers, so mixers have adapted to how DJs scratch and how turntablists want to have sharp cuts. So let's have a close look at the mixer and see how we can come up with the sharpest cuts possible. Now, when crossfaders were first invented, they were meant for strictly a crossfade between both channels of the turntable. That would mean when it moved from here, it went from 0 all the way to 10 evenly from one side to the other. Conversely, on the other side, it would go from 0 all the way to 10 and crossfade them. Essentially, in the middle, they would be 50-50. As scratching evolved, the mixers came to meet the turntablists halfway, in a sense that scratching is a little easier when you don't have to come all the way into the crossfader in the middle of the crossfader to make your scratch. So they've added what we call contour controls for the crossfader. Contour adjustment on the crossfader allows it to go from slow, where you can hear it fading in and out, almost how an input fader works, to fast. Now with fast, you're going to hear the full volume of the sound only millimeters away from the edge. This is the optimal setting for scratching because only small movements with your fingers can cause you to turn the fader on and off, which is where we get the different scratches that we want. So we want to get comfortable with it set closest to fast. Sometimes people like to crank it back a little bit just to allow for a little wider hand movements, but some people like the sensitivity, I find most people like the sensitivity cranked all the way up. Essentially, you want to be as efficient as you can be with your crossfader space, especially when you're doing fast scratches. When you do something over and over again, that lost space between here and there makes a big difference. Take, for instance, transforms. Instead of moving the extra distance actually takes away from your speed. This is especially true with the crab scratch, which involves 3 or 4 of your fingers moving quickly against your thumb as a spring. Without that quick cut-in time, the crab scratch would be basically impossible. Here's what it sounds like. Most scratch DJs will leave the contour at the quickest possible, but some scratches actually do sound better with it cranked off just a little, such as the Chirp Scratch, which was invented on mixers that didn't have such a setting. I find just that little bit of difference gives it a nice fade and a cool characteristic to Chirp Scratches. That being said, I've kind of learned how to do it with the contour cranked full. But you should experiment with different settings to see what feels most comfortable for you. When the contour or cut-in time is really sharp, don't forget your thumb plays a huge part in creating resistance for when it gets pushed back and stops the sound from coming on. At first you may think it's all about turning the sound on, but as you develop scratching you find out it's just as much about turning the sound off as it is about turning the sound on, such as flaring. As you can see there, it makes a big difference when we don't have to go all the way into the middle of the crossfader to perform that scratch. Beyond having the right crossfader settings, it's important to have the right volume of scratching. You don't want your scratching to be too overbearing or louder than the beat, and you don't want it too quietly that no one can hear it. Find the right balance by either using the input fader or by using the gain or trim control at the top of your channel. With those 2 tips, you should have your scratches sounding nice and sharp and laying in the mix just right with some practice. This is Skratch Bastid for Skratch School. Thank you very much. Make sure you check out SkratchSchool.com. Fill out a survey, sign up. We got lots more over there. Peace. But to take scratching to another level and to really perfect your scratches, I think you have to do some drills.
Skratch Bastid.
And what drills are, they're different for every scratch, but it really means focusing on one specific scratch and doing it over and over again until basically your hands fall off.